There are hedge fund managers making $1 million an hour. You know, it's crazy, right? It's money everywhere. It's money in everything. I want to help you. Start your business today. Come join my royal family. Subscribe to Casino Is the Name. Hey, yo, what's going on right now? You watching Casino Is the Name. I'm sitting here with my partner, Lavell.
What up, though?
Came through, man. We were talking, and a very interesting topic came up. At least it's interesting to me. And I just kind of wanted to have that conversation on camera because we were basically talking about what's going on in the world right now. So he brought up 5G and, of course, the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to just kind of know some of the things that he heard about, 5G, the pandemic, and everything like that. I find it interesting. So,
well, the 5G, from what I heard, is comprised. Well, let me start here. Bill Gates kind of first talked about it from years back. He also talked about the pandemic as well, kind of giving like a warning to American people about what's getting ready to take place. I would say a lot of people discredited it, and I guess brushed it out to the side thinking that it was just a hoax in a sense. Now that that's really here, he's more so on an aim or on a purpose of kind of, doing this whole, what they call New World Order. And it's also like it's for the whole thing with implementing the microchips in your hand that's supposed to be able to allow you to make purchases. It's supposed to have your bank accounts tied to the microchip. Everything is related to your health record is tied to the microchip. Only thing you pretty much do is you have a little reader like this and you just wave it, and it's supposed to be able to allow you to make purchases at the grocery store. In a sense, I guess on the technology aspect, it seems like it's a cool device to have. Obviously, you don't have to carry your wallet, credit cards, debit cards, and nothing like that. But the idea of having a microchip, also implanted in your hand it speaks reference to the end days, or people as they say, this is the end of the world, kind of thing, and the Antichrist is getting ready to come. My own personal belief is, yes, I do believe we're living in the last days. However, with this kind of chip, now a lot more companies are, want to try that same thing. And initially started where a company wanted to trial it just to see, make it a little bit more convenient for their employees to be able to make purchases like at a vending machine, things of that nature, where they ain't necessarily have to have all of their information with them. They can just kind of wave and it will make purchases at the cafeteria and things of that nature. But now it's getting to a point where a lot more other companies want to trial it, and they want to implement that along with this vaccination that Trump is, supposedly going against, and don't really want the remainder. I guess they want to implement it across the entire U.S. From what I hear, I really hadn't did my research on it, but I have heard that Trump, is pretty much trying to go against it, and other beliefs and people philosophers and things of that nature are all saying that this is something that the U.S. needs to get. So, man, it's just been a lot.
So I thought you was just gonna stay on 5G and then was gonna segue into the other things. He said so much. This is your first time doing an interview like this, right? So he didn't pace himself. You basically had, you said so much.
No, but it's actually good because it kind of gives you.
Yeah, now I can go in and we can break down, because you really, you connected more, I think, than we originally even started talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
So with the 5G, when we were originally having the conversation, you said that you heard the 5G is the cause of the coronavirus,
right? And then that was another thing. I'm not sure exactly how many towers have been put up, but a lot of people are trying to link the towers and saying that it's really not necessarily the coronavirus is what's causing so many people to be affected. That over in China, that they initially started implementing 5G towers. And from that, it spread across, over to Italy. All these towers are supposedly now being built, and it's causing so many people to get sick. People are reporting headaches, and all kind of illnesses that all are similar to what the coronavirus. Now, do I believe that the coronavirus does exist? Yes. Do I believe it's tied into 5G? I really don't know, because it's pretty much my opinion about it. You know what I mean? Anybody can say, hey man, that's 5G, but is there any kind of factual based information that's gonna tie that into it? You know what I mean? Other than what a person think.
Right. So I just wanted to know, like, when this theory of 5G, I haven't heard any medical doctor, anybody who's certified, board certified. I've never heard of a nurse. Well, I ain't even gonna say nurse, but definitely no doctors. I don't know any doctors who are saying, this is really to the 5G. This is 5G. I've actually seen a doctor get upset because he has had patients that have passed, and he, has had to deal with this virus up front and in person, and he actually got very upset because, when you think about it, if the virus is the real cause, and people say, forget the virus, it ain't the virus, it's really them towers. Like, we need to bring the towers down, but we're not addressing the real issue. At this point, those people have lost their lives, and we are not even addressing, these conspiracy theories aren't backed by any factual. Now, when they say that it causes similar symptoms, headaches, headaches, sinus causes headaches, nausea, because I'm not saying that 5G isn't bad. 5G may be bad in itself, but it's an isolated situation. There are all kinds of things. A symptom of coronavirus is diarrhea. It's one of the symptoms. You can get that from eating some bad chicken. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because it causes symptoms doesn't mean that is proof that that's the same thing. And it's the most ridiculous thought that I've ever heard. But the virus is separate. They have a way to know if it comes from a rat, a bat, a bird, a pig. They have a way to know what animal that it comes from. That was
the whole thing too. When you think about it, in actuality, when the virus first came out, so supposedly, for what I've heard, the virus is first introduced to China, Wuhan, China, and over in November time frame. I seen a documentary as to where they said it was a Chinese reporter, who was trying to get word to the United States that this is, something that they have been dealing with, that they had kind of swept it under the rugs, that the Chinese government didn't want this information leaked out. And as a matter of fact, that same reporter, along with other reporters that were trying to, I guess, cover the story of this virus, have now all came up missing, or are no longer alive. So it definitely goes to show you that it ain't just a virus that came out here because why would the Chinese government be pretty much getting rid of the people who were trying to give warning to other states? So they feel as though other countries they could have got the heads up, quote unquote, where they kind of swept it under the rug until I think the U.S. didn't get word about it until the end of December. Now Trump chose to ignore some of the stuff. That's a whole nother topic. We're not gonna get on right now, but definitely that's supposedly where it started. So when you kind of compare that with 5G supposedly started in the same area of Wuhan, China, and it has spread across other countries. And now they're just now implementing towers. Now you probably see on social media where people are burning down towers because of, I believe around the time that the virus came out, Carrie Hilson was on her Twitter. She was on her Instagram.
But listen though, Carrie Hilson. Yeah. Carrie Hilson. That's like people saying, like Waka Flocka said that, black people can't get it. Right. Just because they're a celebrity, I don't see her.
But I think though, honestly, I think she was just learning about it. I can't necessarily say what information. She might got way more than what you and I won't ever know. But at the same time, people discredited her, was like, oh, she crazy as hell. Right. She don't know what
that's a crazy statement though.
You know what I mean?
Even like let's say that So when people leave out information, so what people will do is they'll give you information only to control the information that you know, they control. Let's say I knew another side to things, but I only told you one side of it. That's the only side that you can go off of, right? So if they say, well, Wuhan, China is where coronavirus started, and at the same time, or COVID-19 started, and at the same time, the first 5G towers.
Right.
Coronavirus is in places that doesn't have, in countries that don't have 5G towers.
Right.
Have you ever, when somebody gets cancer, they don't pass cancer to somebody else. Right? They go through radiation treatments and everything, right? But they have cancer.
Right.
If you're saying that 5G causes cancer, cancer is not contagious.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So how are these people getting it in places that don't have 5G?
Right. I mean, and it even goes about as now.
This is simple.
This
is not even. It's not even.
It's so many, and and I guess nobody will really know the whole situation as to what causes it. What don't. Now they saying it travels on the sole of your shoe, and not to wear shoes. When you come in the house, and I mean, in all actuality, coming from a healthcare background, I was always taught, coming from nursing, you change your clothes anyway when you come in the door, because of germs and things of that nature, just on a general standpoint. So, I wouldn't necessarily, now I say this, not, and then now the next thing is being said that it's, now could be transferred to animals. So now you can have an epidemic of so many different animals getting it because... that's what initially where it supposedly it started with in China. Supposedly it started with a bat, and then that changed to it wasn't a bat, and so you're gonna have so many different theory conspiracies that go on about 5G, coronavirus, Bill Gates, and all this other stuff.
I gotta address the Bill Gates thing. Have you heard? I was on Facebook and. One of my classmates from high school, she posted a video of Bill Gates like doing an interview, and he was saying, I told you guys this back in this time or whatever, and like he basically had predicted that something like this could happen, and not that it could happen, but it was going to happen, right? And so she said on her post, I do not trust this man, he's the devil kind of or whatever, and that he caused this or whatever like that, right? And so all of these people were on her page, right? And they were all like, oh my God, and then she was just watch this, watch what he's saying, he told us and stuff like that. But see, that's the part that people don't go further, right? Bill Gates has been fighting. People just know him as being a billionaire from Microsoft, right? But Bill Gates has dedicated his later years, probably his middle to later years, to fighting malaria, HIV, other kind of diseases, right? He's, they've him and the Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have dedicated, or I think they dedicated $10 billion towards eliminating all of these diseases. Malaria, 80% of all the people who die from malaria are from Africa, right? They're black people too, not just Africans, but they black, right? He is like trying to cure malaria to save them. This man is doing more for our people than my homegirl is from high school for sure. You know what I'm saying?
See, but then when you...
But we don't, it's kind of like, why she thinks he's the devil, I have no idea. But nobody is going far enough. Now, I've watched his journey for a while, to see somebody like him, change and go to Africa and hold these African babies and put themselves at harm's way, the whole philanthropy and stuff like that. Things that I aspire to do one day.
Right.
But to see somebody who does that, and it's like, I don't trust it.
Right.
What do you not trust? You're not doing anything yourself. Right. At least this person, and yes, he has money, but like, his mission is to, like, his life mission. I just noticed because, like I said, I follow, Warren Buffett, him, and a couple other people are like my, I ain't gonna, just people I look up to in business or whatever. But it's like seeing how somebody with with this doubtful mind or whatever, or with this conspiracy mind. It's like, bruh, where are you getting this information from? And then to see other people who just, nobody does their own research. Nobody goes further. They see this, not only him. Does anybody say that Obama is responsible for coronavirus or COVID-19? No, they don't. But guess who also said in 2014, did a speech, yo, we're going to have a pandemic. You know, why are these people saying that we're going to have a pandemic? Why are these people saying that it may be some other type of flu type of situation that could kill millions of people?
I think though where Obama came into play is back when he did his speech in reference to the pandemic, he was doing it more of a precautionary standpoint to where.
So was Bill Gates.
Yeah, but then.
So was Bill Gates.
But
they were both saying the same thing. The only difference is people don't know enough. They haven't followed the history of pandemics. Right. These things are not swine flu killed. Like millions of people or something. Like it's been flu epidemics that have swept the globe prior to this, and it happens every so often.
So then how do you explain, that's a good point now that you said that, I don't know if you want to, I think she's a psychic, the lady who was on the Oprah Winfrey show, Sylvia, whatever her name, my last name is, she came out with a book last year, and in her book it disclosed that there was going to be a pandemic that broke out in year 2020, that it was going to, and she described it not necessarily to the name of coronavirus, but she gave the same exact symptoms. It's going to be, pneumonia-like, symptoms, going to affect your respiratory system and things of that nature. And then that is after April, May time is going to supposedly disappear, and then it's going to come back again 10 years later. A lot of people are now looking to her to say, well, if this information if the virus started in China in November, got to the U.S., you say January time, spread across other countries, how is it that she knew this information well before November? Okay. You know what I mean? And was able to pinpoint that this actually is going to happen in 2020, that is going to have the same exact symptoms that it does. And then supposedly gave a time frame around May, things, and so it draws your mind to think. Now you hear Trump saying by May 1st, and you hear a lot of other states saying by May 1st we're going to open back up for business. Against a lot of people's agreement. A lot of other governors are saying, hey, we don't care where we at numbers wise. We're gonna go ahead and open back up for business. We need to get the economy back booming. Where most states haven't even hit one. Most states, when it comes down to corona testing, have only hit 1%. You still got, like for instance, I come from Detroit. What up, though? 313.
Yeah.
And over there is well over 30,000 cases. They are considered, one of the most highest states, or the fastest growing states that are getting coronavirus. I think I went back home maybe about 3-4 weeks ago, and in certain areas they call it hotspots, because these are the hotspots of where coronavirus is. Now, and I'm sure you've heard about it, back in China, now they're saying, and not just in China, but in the U.S., now they feel like the coronavirus is targeted towards African American, the African American culture, as to where now, and over in China, over at McDonald's, they turning away black people from coming in because they feel as though that is now just being shifted to, infecting African Americans, and to prevent everybody else from getting the whole little virus. They want to go ahead and base it towards that particular race, but man, it's definitely something that makes you wonder. You know what I mean?
So let's go to the psychic, right?
Okay.
She has predicted something. Let's say she has predicted, say, the coronavirus. It is not yet everything that she's predicted true yet.
Yeah.
Right? Because she said it's going to disappear, I guess, May or whenever.
Right.
It hasn't disappeared yet.
Yeah,
so we have to wait and see.
Right.
So it's really, I'm not going to really speak on that because Bill Gates, Obama, a bunch of scientists, a bunch of CDC people have predicted this same kind of thing because it was going to happen eventually at some point, right? But we just didn't know when, we didn't know how. She might have predicted a lot of stuff, and she may just very well be psychic. I'm not saying that can exist.
Right.
You know, I'm just saying, you know, that it's not all the way true yet. You know what my job is, right? I'm an auditor, right? I audit every word, every day, every whatever. That's what my job is. I have told people that the housing market was going to eventually crash. It crashed way harder than I expected, but it was a bubble. You know, it's been a bubble. Like, it's been a lot of things, right? I got out of stocks. I got out of Bitcoin before Bitcoin went down. I got out, made 4 times my money that I put in, but I saw things coming that made sense for me to pull out. I was like, it's coming soon, maybe next year, maybe this year, but I'm out of here. It crashed maybe 2 weeks after.
Wow.
It went up another weekend or so, like it went up a little bit more, and then it crashed, and it went down hard. I'm not a psychic, you know, but I saw trends. I saw things, right? So,
and that could be the same exact thing as to where Bill Gates and everybody else might see that same kind of trend. I mean, because you got to think about it backwards.
Well, that's history.
Right.
You
and
know
it repeats itself.
Right. Because we haven't done anything to protect ourselves from it.
Right.
We're super exposed. We travel more than we ever traveled. Flights. At the time when, like, the swine flu, let me see. I was going to say look up the swine flu, but the swine flu killed millions of people, right? They didn't have planes the way we have planes now, right? The regular person wasn't traveling from Detroit, you know, to Germany like that, right? So if something happened in, say, Germany, it took a lot longer for it to, like, kind of end up on U.S. soil or end up in, you know, in Africa or wherever. So you could have had a pandemic right there. Well, not pandemic, but you could have had, like, a virus or something right there in your town that would have just took a long time for it to move around. Right. But in today's time,
I mean, you got so much, man.
It's so much. It's so fast. We moving so fast, and it's so uncontrollable, and we're so free, right?
I mean, then you got to also look at the population too. The population then doubled, tripled, 10 times over since then. You know what I mean? So when you tie all that, you know, and reality is, though, I mean, it's crazy that I'm getting ready to say this, but you know, I'm kind of, in a sense, I'm not glad that the coronavirus just came. I am, though, because it kind of gave people a reality check. You know,
definitely a huge reality check.
You know, now you know, sports arenas are all closed, movie theaters is closed, restaurants is closed. You know, malls are closed. One would say, coming from, like, on a religious standpoint or spiritual standpoint, this is God's way of getting our attention, because it's so much that we, in the sense that we idolize and that we worship. You know, not even really knowing it. You know what I mean? In a sense, like, I could look at, you know, me checking my phone every 5 minutes, checking accounts, you know, and stuff like that. That could be looked at as a form of worship, you know, because you constantly, you know, and checking with your bank, you know, what your balance is, you know, checking this, checking that. But I definitely believe it was God's way of getting our attention, in a sense, to kind of bring it back to foundation of, you know, friends, family. Like, you think about it, on the average day, for me, especially me, I'm gonna go 90% of the day. You know, half the time, I get a text message, I might overlook it. It's not on an intentional base, but you know, I be going so much to where you have your hands involved in so much, you miss out on a lot of the important things. And I believe when I say this is God's way of getting our attention is, think about it. A lot of places have done away with prayer. You can't even pray, you know, in open public places, you know, things of that nature. So to say that, and then, you know, even on a hygiene tip, bro, like, you know, we should have been washing our hands.
Should have been.
You know what I mean? Making sure that we sanitizing ourselves properly. You know, all that is definitely something that should have been in practice a long time ago. But then, you know, it took for a flu to spread across the entire world, and kind of what it did is it shook the nation. You know what I mean? It shook the nation to a point where they thinking like, yo, we don't know what's gonna happen next. You know what I mean?
So, and I just wanna say this. My bad, not the swine flu. The swine flu is not the disease that I was referring to. The disease I was referring to was the Spanish flu.
Yeah, the Spanish flu. Yeah,
the Spanish flu.
I was thinking out of my head.
500 million people fell ill to the Spanish flu.
Wow.
1/5 of those people died. So 100 million people died from the Spanish flu.
And then how long did it last?
It lasted from 1918 to 1920, 2 years. Now, the thing about flus, once we get vaccines and things like that, they can come back, and they can come back every season or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, and they might mutate just a little bit or whatever like that. But, that's why we keep upgrading the vaccinations. You might have just used to get the flu shot, now you get the H1N1, now you get the whatever. And so it's just because the flu changes a little bit. But, they're trying to help us build immunities. And that brings the whole immunization thing, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people don't want to get vaccinated. I have no problem. If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your business. I've been getting vaccinated my whole life. Right. And, some people want to build it naturally or they just want to take their chances against it. I heard some people got vaccinated and got got deformed and all kind of crazy stuff. I don't know about none of that. I never had an issue with it. But it is proven science that vaccines got a lot of us here right now. Because a lot of us wouldn't have survived even the common flu because we didn't have those vaccines. We wouldn't have naturally. A lot of us wouldn't even survive that.
But then why suggest that vaccinations need to be mandatory across the entire nation? When most times when you think about scientists,
just called
coronavirus. Most people, when you think about it, when scientists perform studies and they do trial research and things of that nature, most oftentimes if they do a vaccination test or things like that, they started they trial it on animals and things of that nature. They're saying now, okay, just like with anything else, a doctor, when you complain of different symptoms and say, hey, I'm having headaches, night sweats, pain in my chest or whatever, they do what? Trial and basis error. They say, okay, we're going to prescribe you this medication based on the symptoms that you described you had, not necessarily knowing if this is going to work, but if that doesn't work, then we'll come back and see me. Or what they'll say is, if you're still having pain or if it's still severe, take yourself to emergency. Not necessarily knowing that what they could say, okay, hey, I gave you this medication, this is what's going to cure you. But they don't necessarily know it's that trial and basis error. So with the vaccine, I believe that's the same kind of thing. You really don't know what the outcome or what the effect is going to be on the human body, quote unquote, until it's tried, because again, everybody's bodies respond different.
That's true, because each individual person responds differently, but that is the reason why it takes so long for it to go through trials, because they have to make sure it's safe for the majority. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of
but we at a time now where we ain't got that time.
right now, because outside is closed, right? But that's kind of the point, though. It's like they go through those trials, and that's why it takes so long to get like something that should be healthy enough for the masses. Because if I told you that 3% of everybody who catches this illness will die, mm-hmm. right? Or I can give you a vaccine, we can vaccinate as many people as possible, and only half of 1% of those people are going to have an issue or will die from this disease or have an allergic reaction to this. You still save 2.5% more people. Mm-hmm. And you also keep other people from even getting sick or getting down sick, where they can't, where they're even contagious around other people and they can give it the same. You know what I'm saying? Right. You slow it to as much as you can to stop it, right? Mm-hmm. So you would say, well, I don't want to get vaccinated because I might be in that half of 1%, but you could also be in that 3%. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm a numbers person. I'm an accountant. I can't help it. This is how I think. I see the world in numbers, but we have to stop right now because we're getting close to time. Want to tell them where they can find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Mr.Classic_guy. Again, Mr.Classic_guy. You can also find me on Facebook, Rico Lavell Johnson. It's been a pleasure kicking it with y'all.
All right, right now you're watching Casino Is the Name, man. Like, comment, subscribe. We out. Chill.
Beat me up, Scotty.
Me and her together, we just count it up. Money on my mind, I can't get enough. Don't play with my money, you don't want no beef. Cause I come from the bottom, I come from the street. When she first saw me, she said, who is that? When a man saw me, he called me a threat. I'm the one that really live with a rap. They ain't never did it, they ain't really trap.
Purchase your list today.
say you want to be successful, but what's stopping you? Can't nothing stop you from being successful except for you. You standing in your own way. I came from the bottom. I ain't know nothing but the grind. You can't tell me nothing about that. I called the Busted Basin Street Projects in Tallahassee, Florida. You hear me? I used to think $1 million would last me my whole life. I'd have made that and spent that. $1 million ain't enough. There are hedge fund managers making $1 million an hour. You know, it's crazy, right? It's money everywhere. It's money in everything. I want to help you. Start your business today. Come join my royal family. Subscribe to Casino is the name.